Service to your people is the rent you pay for living on this earth.
We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity. And society cannot trample on the weakest and the feeblest of its members without receiving the curse on its own soul.
A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives.
This is WJZ's Black History Oratory Competition Speech Event, live from Morgan State University. Here's Nikki Zizaza.
Introduce to you, Nikki Zizaza. Hello, everyone. I'm Nikki Zizaza, and welcome to the 2025 WJZ Black History Oratory Competition. For over 30 years, WJZ has proudly challenged our youth to use the power of words to speak up and speak out about the issues that matter. We asked high school students from all across Maryland to write an original essay based on one of three quotations by Dr. Lily Mae Carroll Jackson, Francis E.W. Harper, and Jackie Robinson. This year, we received over 200 original essays. So today, students with the top scores will perform those essays to compete for more than $2,000 in scholarship prize money. Our finalists will perform right here in the Morgan State University Student Theater before an audience of family members, friends, community members, and of course, our judges. Before we introduce you to these amazing students, allow me to introduce to you some very special guests. So first, let us meet our judges who are scoring those essays and are here with us today. So, from Morgan State, Professor Gilliam of English and Language Arts. And Acting Director of Women and Gender Studies, Dr. Denise Jarrett. And a round of applause from the Enoch Pratt Free Library, Young Adult Library Associate, Jacqueline Birdnow. And from WJZ Sales Manager, Michelle Wilson. Well, none of us would be here today if it weren't for our sponsors. They made this entire competition possible. Megan McCorkle with the Enoch Pratt Free Library, Randolph Rice of Rice Law, and Dell Jackson with Morgan State University. So let's give them a hand also. We are very appreciative of that. And representing WJZ, we have our president and general manager, Kathy Hostetter, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Nikki. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone feeling? How are you doing? Ready? Ready for this? All right. I want to welcome all of you to the WJZ Black History Oratory. As I tell my team at the station, this is one of my most favorite events that we do because selfishly, I love the power of words, and we word nerds have to stick together. So I want to welcome all of you and congratulate all of our 20 finalists on this remarkable achievement. Before us this afternoon, we're going to witness 20 of you with your word nerd superpowers do amazing things. We're thrilled to once again bring the oratory back to the wonderful Morgan State University Student Theater. And we also want to thank Attorney Randolph Rice, who has funded a fair amount, most of the amount of the prize money for which you are competing today. So let's give him a round of applause. And I want to conclude by giving all of you a round of applause and congratulating you on participating in this amazing event that showcases excellence among words and our students. So best of luck to all of you. Nikki, I'm turning it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And now, without further ado, the moment you have all been waiting for, the speech portion of the 2025 WJZ Black History Oratory Competition. And first, to start us off, we have TJ Ajose.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Toluwanimi Ajose, but everybody calls me TJ, and I'm from Arlington Baptist School. Today, I am going to be talking about the meaning behind skills. You see, everybody has a skill, right? Throughout our lives, we end up finding that they're just things that we're good at. Some people are really good at singing. They have the most beautiful voice you've ever heard in your life. Some other people create stunning art pieces, and then there's the third guy that just makes really nice mac and cheese. The point of the matter is that whether you're aware of it or not, there's something you can do better than anybody else can. But why? Why should we spend time learning these things? Why keep making good mac and cheese? Why? Sorry. What is the point of having a skill? I believe the answer lies in a quote from Jackie Robinson. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. This quote is where I believe the answer to the question lies. The reason we all have skills and talents is so that we can have an impact on one another's lives. And you can do this in a multitude of ways. Let's take Jackie Robinson, for example. Now, even in his younger years, he was clearly a great athlete. He was good at basketball, track, football, and of course the one he's best known for, baseball. That skill he had grown and trained eventually got noticed by Branch Rickey, coach of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Jackie became the first African American to play in Major League Baseball in over several decades, and he was amazing. But it wasn't perfect. See, despite breaking the color barrier by being in Major League Baseball, he was still hated. The fans hated him, his own teammates hated him, and even the other teams deliberately tried to harm him. Despite all of that, though, he still kept persevering. He never let that stop him, and that skill eventually changed America forever. It didn't bring out immediate change, but it still did cause a lasting impact. Now, as far as I'm aware, we're not all Jackie Robinson. We're not going to all cause some grand impact, but we can still do little things that eventually matter. For example, when I was in 8th grade, one of the biggest things in our school was Rubik's Cubes. Everybody had tried it at some point. If you hadn't already, you were going to eventually. There was no choice in the matter. And I chose not to. See, I'd already tried my hand at a Rubik's Cube before, but I just wasn't good at it. I couldn't figure it out. But I did know somebody who did. My best friend. And he was incredibly good at it. I don't remember his exact time, but he was able to do it really fast. And that eventually motivated me to try it myself. And when I did, it took me nearly a full day to figure it out. But after I did figure it out, I knew I wanted to do it again. And again, and again, and I eventually became obsessed. I wanted to improve my time as much as possible. I wanted to be the best I could possibly be. And to this day, my fastest time is 35 seconds. Now, my cube obsession has long since passed, but that motivation hasn't. Being able to do something, figure it out, and be the best you can possibly be at it, is something that's constantly stuck with me to this day. And and it was all because a little toy that my friend was good at was able to do better than other people motivated me. And that's important. You have a skill. Whether you find it small or insignificant or the biggest thing in the world to you, you have it. And even if you don't think it's impacting anybody now, it will always have an effect on somebody eventually. Thank you for listening.
Let us please welcome Isabella Akilo.
Good morning. My name is Isabella Akilo, and I'm a senior at the Baltimore City College. What is clay, if not the ground from which it emerges and the hands that shape it? As Jackie Robinson once said, a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. It is through these impacts that we, like clay, can evolve into intricate pottery molded by purpose and the hope to make a difference. For much of my early life, I was the equivalent to nothing more than unharvested earth, ordinary and still. Passion and ambition were far in the back of my mind, and I often just drifted, following the paths others had set for me. Everything shifted at 14 when a school assignment sparked my interest in learning the guitar. For the first time, I chose a passion for myself. Although initially I was a sole member of my school's guitar club, I embraced it wholeheartedly. I slowly began to find myself and thrive, discovering not only my potential, but a sense of pride in something I had created. As time went on, I delved into other creative mediums such as poetry, photography, animation, and film. These experiences allowed me to view my identity as a young Black woman not as a limitation, but as a source of strength. In a society that often overlooks and undervalues individuals like me, the arts became my refuge and my voice. My art teacher, Ms. Chin, recommended I apply for an arts advocacy job for education within Baltimore City Public Schools. Through this job, I learned of the multitude of inequities students in Baltimore have faced through the years. Did you know in 2018 there were 218 certified arts teachers across the city schools? By 2019, that number had fallen to 174. Many schools lacked any arts programming, denying Black and brown students vital opportunities for self-expression and personal growth. Today, working on a team, I still spend my time researching, editing, and putting together town hall events to not only hold space for teachers, students, and parents to voice their concerns regarding arts education, but to also allow the adults in charge of making those important decisions regarding the fine arts in our schooling system the platform to share their strides in making our schools more equitable. As someone inspired by Alma Thomas, one of the first African-American women to have her own solo exhibition at the Whitney Museum of American Art, paving the way for Black Americans to come, I hope to use my own life to continue the fight for a brighter future and a greater change. Whether it be waves or ripples, a wheel or a kiln, I'm committed to creating a future where every student has the opportunity to shape their potential into something remarkable. Thank you.
Next, join me in welcoming Jadisayo Akinbinu.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jadisayo Isabella Akinbinu. I'm currently a senior at Long Reach High School. Now today, I'm going to be sharing with you all my essay on the importance of health equity. Frances Ellen Harper Watkins once said, "We are all bound up together in one great bundle of society, and humanity cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse on its own soul." This quote has served as one of the foundations in my belief in the importance of health equity. From a young age, I've always been interested in my science and health courses. But among all things I learned, vaccines fascinated me the most. To me, they were like invisible miracles in a syringe that could protect people and help my family members from things I didn't fully understand. I vividly remember being 10 years old, lining up my stuffed animals one by one, and armed with a pink toy syringe, I explained to my stuffed unicorn why she needed her shot. Those playful moments, although small, have planted the seeds for my belief in the importance of health equity. As I've gotten older, I realized that vaccines don't just have to represent medicine. They can represent hope and equity. Yet, not everyone has access to these life-saving tools. This realization became deeply personal during an international internship with the Women Advocates for Vaccine Access. Through WAVA, I worked alongside my aunt to help protect girls from human papillomavirus, a leading cause of cervical cancer. After researching, we came across an internally displaced persons camp, Malaysian Gardens in Abuja, Nigeria. When we came to Malaysian Gardens, we had found that none of the girls had been vaccinated. And as we explained to the girls how the vaccination process would go, one of them asked me, "Will it hurt?" I responded, "Just a pinch, but it'll keep you safe from years to come." On June 27, 2024, the camp buzzed with energy. Mothers held their daughters' hands, and one by one, they stepped forward to receive the HPV vaccine. That day, we vaccinated 47 girls. 47 girls' lives now shielded from cervical cancer, and the excitement was evident as each of them held up their vaccination card with pride. This experience has reinforced the belief I've had since I was young. Healthcare is not a privilege, it is a right. Harper's words resonate so deeply with me because they capture the essence of health equity. When we fail to extend healthcare to the most vulnerable, we fail as a collective humanity. I think back of the days at Malaysian Gardens, and I think about the girls and their strength. And it also reminds me how small actions can create meaningful change. Frances Ellen Harper Watkins' legacy reminds us that actions rooted in compassion and justice can move outward to transform communities. So let us remember that health equity is a call to action. It is in the choices that we make, the communities we uplift, the futures that we fight for. Thank you all so much.
Next up, join me in welcoming Briana Avery.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Hi, my name is Briana, and today my essay, Bound Together, The Power of Compassion and Unity in Society, will today reflect the importance of compassion and unity throughout our world. Imagine existing in a world where the weakest and most vulnerable are left behind, trampled under the weight of indifference. Frances Ellen Watkins Harper once said, "We're all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest of its members without receiving a curse on its own soul." To me, this quote emphasizes the interconnectedness of humanity and the responsibility that we all have to protect and uplift those in need. Harper's words remind us the importance of bringing together our weakest and most vulnerable members and helping them, and urging us to act with compassion, unity, and justice in the face of inequality. The interconnectedness of humanity means that we are all linked, regardless of our status, our ethnicity, our background, or any personal circumstances. Even our unseen or unrecognized actions can help enrich and build a better world. Showing that everyone plays a role in what we have today and our upcoming. For example, trade connects us through distance. A farmer in one country might create crops to sustain a family in another country, or while a factory producer works and makes food for people who they don't even know. Furthermore, we are united through the exchange of ideas, bringing diverse perspectives that help to strengthen our society. These connections highlight that no one exists in isolation. Each person contributes to the greater good in what we have today. This quote also highlights our responsibility to uplift the vulnerable and the weak in our society. A society is judged how it treats its most disadvantaged members, such as our elders, such as the poor, and our vets. If we claim to be a unified nation, we must include everyone. For instance, the elderly. They have helped shape our foundation. They have helped build what we have today. And thank you, boomers, for what we have today. And the vulnerable should never be treated unfairly because they have less or because they no longer hold the same position they once had. We're all human and we all deserve respect, and we all deserve recognition, and every person contributes to the collective good. Neglecting these individuals weakens and destroys our unity. A strong society is built based on compassion and unity and inclusion, as well as respect for all. By uplifting the vulnerable, we honor their contributions and their hard work for constructing what we have today. Finally, this quote emphasizes the consequences of neglect and injustice. The phrase, "curse on his own soul," warns that harming the vulnerable leads to a moral decay and a tangible harm to our society. History offers examples of this, particularly racism and discrimination, as well as segregation throughout the early 1900s. In the United States, segregation laws divided our nation, as well as supported systematic discrimination and inequality and hatred throughout our world. This separation fractured communities, as well as decreased our nation's potential. Societies thrive when equality is prioritized and everyone is treated with respect and equality. Ignoring these principles creates a division and a crack in our world, which we need. We need one another, and this creates division and instability. To build a truly unified, stable nation, we must confront and correct these injustices. Overall, Frances Ellen Harper's words remind us that humanity's interconnectedness and shared responsibilities to uplift one another. A society that neglects its vulnerable members, such as our elders, such as our vets, and such as people who really need our help. It weakens our foundation and it weakens the world when we know that we need one another. By embracing compassion and unity, we can create a more inclusive world where every individual thrives. Thank you.
Next, we have Sid Bajaj.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sid Bajaj, and I'm a senior at Glen Elk Country School. I used to think empathy was like a sweater you could take off when it became too heavy to wear. That changed the summer I volunteered at Rebuilding Together, where I met Miss Eleanor, an 87-year-old former English teacher who could recite Langston Hughes from memory, but sometimes forgot her own daughter's name. The weakest and the feeblest, Harper once wrote, speaking of society's most vulnerable members. Every Saturday, Miss Eleanor would sit in her wheelchair, her papery hands resting in her lap like fallen autumn leaves, watching as our team worked to rebuild her crumbling porch. She would gaze at the overgrown rose bushes and in moments of startle and clarity, turn to me and ask, "Have you ever read The Giving Tree?" I had. It was a book my mother read to me countless times before bed when I was younger. But it wasn't until I met Miss Eleanor that I began to truly understand its message. Like the boy who kept returning to the tree, we are all connected in ways we can't fully comprehend until we're forced to look closely. Now, one day, Miss Eleanor had what nurses coldly called an episode. She became agitated, insisting she needed to grade papers for tomorrow's class. As I held her trembling hands, trying to ground her in the present, I realized how much of her life was shaped by giving to others. Her students, her daughter, and even strangers like me. But it was also shaped by the challenges she endured as a Black woman in America. Her house, like many in historically segregated neighborhoods, had suffered from years of redlining and disinvestment. Harper was right. When society ignores its members, the consequences are evident. 1 in 4 black households in the U.S. live below the poverty line, and black elders are disproportionately more likely to experience housing insecurity. Organizations like Rebuilding Together are necessary to bridge these gaps where society has fallen short, and to restore dignity to those who have been neglected for far too long. But here's what Harper couldn't have known. Sometimes the weakest and the feeblest are our greatest teachers. Miss Harper may have been weak in body, but her spirit taught me that raw strength lies in the courage to embrace vulnerability, to lean on others, and to allow others to lean on us. And so I still volunteer at Rebuilding Together, though Miss Harper is no longer with us. Sometimes when I pass by rose bushes, which she loved so much, I recite hues under my breath, not because I feel forced to, but because I finally understand that we don't wear empathy like a sweater. We wear it like it's skin. It's not meant to be comfortable, it's meant to keep us connected, to help us see the pain and the beauty of being human together. Thank you.
Let us welcome Devin Carr.
Sorry. Can everybody hear me well? All righty. My name is Devin Carr, and I currently is a sophomore at Dunbar High School. Today, I will be presenting a speech about Jackie Robinson and what his quote means to me. The effect on future generations. A life is not important except for the impact that it has on other lives. Jackie Robinson's words remind us that a life is truly meaningful when it positively impacts others. With immense bravery, he charted his own course, challenging Major League Baseball and breaking their color barriers that eventually brought new energy into this earth to more athletes than can be told. Robinson's actions shows that standing up for what's right can create an everlasting legacy, opening up opportunities and inspiring the future. His life reminds us that the impact that we have on others is what gives our lives the true meaning. This quote really speaks to me, especially since my brother, DeAndre Hatchard, died in the shooting. His death left me and my family very devastated. But instead of allowing that pain to define us, it was the time to turn the pain into a positive memory. When Jackie Robinson used his platform to challenge injustice, I too used my brother's story to make a difference so others will be inspired to join the fight against violence. His life, though tragically short, continued to impact others, and I'm determined to make sure that the impacts count. Just like Jackie Robinson paved a way into history with his courage, our actions today shape the future for generations to come. I think that the value of life isn't counted in the years we live, but it's how much we have affected other people's lives. It's the love we give, the support we share, and what we do to people that really matters. Inspired by Robinson's legacy and in honor of my brother, I continue to fight the fight against gun violence and support all of those families who were affected by it. And it is because this journey will not only just remind me of my brother, but it will serve as a beacon for people to create that change with him. In my community, I will try to raise awareness, volunteer, and share my brother's story so others will be inspired to join the fight against gun violence. Like Jackie Robinson, I believe even the smallest actions Even the smallest action can trigger major change when we all act together as a community. Every effort, no matter how small, helps in making the world a better place. Through volunteer work, spreading awareness, and caring for those who were affected by violence, I know that I can make a lasting impact. In conclusion, Jackie Robinson's quote is a reminder that a life is not measured by its length, but by the impact that it has on others. Through my efforts to honor my brother's memory and to follow Robinson's example, I too hope to leave a lasting legacy. Like Robinson, we each have the power to make valuable contributions towards a better world for future generations. And I am committed to doing my part. Thank you.
Next up, Rakiz Chong.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rakiz Chong, and I am a junior at Mount Hebron High School. Here to present to you all my speech titled, The Illusion of Perfection. Get all A's, get good test scores. 1,500 or more on the SAT will get you into a good school. 4.0 GPA is the goal after all, isn't it? See, these are the pillars we are told will define success. Pillars that build the stress and anxiety students carry every day. At a young age, I believed that success was determined by grades, by the numbers and letters that would determine my future. I obsessed over the idea that achieving perfect scores would unlock the door to opportunities. But as I've grown, I've realized that grades alone do not define the value of life. Jackie Robinson's words, "A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives," speak to a deeper truth. Those grades, those numbers, they don't define who you are. They're just 3 numbers, 7 letters, and a piece of paper combined to make or break your future. But this isn't really true. True success is not about personal accolades or achievements. It's about the difference you make in the lives of others. True leadership isn't about perfection. It's about how you grow, what you give, and the impact you have on others. Now, this shift in perspective began for me when I started asking myself a different set of questions. What kind of person did I want to be? How did I want to contribute to the world around me? I realized that the pressure to achieve the perfect GPA, the perfect SAT score, or even the perfect college application was a narrow definition of success. Ultimately, the most fulfilling moments in my life were not the ones where I excelled academically. It was the times where I helped a middle school student grasp a concept they had never understood before, or when a peer found confidence they didn't know they had. Now, whether that's through advocacy efforts with local nonprofits to provide education to underserved students, to explore their passions with engineering, or mentoring young and gifted individuals to discover ways to help their environment. The moments that will shape your future are the ones where you give back and empower others to discover their own passions. In the end, as Jackie Robinson said, a life is not defined by personal achievement, but by the impact it has on others. Grades will fade, but the lives you touch, the change you create, that's what will last. Ultimately, the greatest satisfaction comes not from perfect scores or shining straight A report cards, but from the difference we make in the lives of others. So, when the pressure of grades weighs on you, remember, perfection isn't the goal. The most meaningful part of your journey will have been the choices you made to use your gifts for others. And that's what will shape your future in ways no number, letter, or piece of paper ever could. Thank you.
Let us please welcome Alyssa Collins.
Good afternoon. My name is Alyssa Collins, and I am a junior at South Carroll High School. I will be reading my essay, The Domino Effect. Thanks, thanks, thanks. Children have minds like sponges, soaking up everything around them. If a father walks around with his hands behind his back, it is likely that a child will do the same thing. If a mother says a swear word, it is likely that a child will do the same thing. Children do the things that are taught by those around them, and oftentimes they are proud to tell or show their parents something that they found to be impressive. Thanks, thanks. As children become teenagers, they gain life skills from parents and peers, preparing them for adulthood. It is crucial that they have the resources they need before launching out into the world. Thanks. The adults who were once teenagers now pass on their knowledge to the younger generations, who in turn express their gratitude for the lessons taught by those who came before them. The domino effect. It's simple. Our actions impact others and shape their lives. For example, the way someone teaches you to tie your shoes may be the way that you teach your children. A single action can start a chain reaction that affects the future generations. What good is a car if it has no wheels? Many people have the ability to solve problems or make a difference, yet they choose not to act with the skills they have. Don't be that person. Use your talents and abilities to create a positive impact on others. Consider those who have used their abilities to help members of society, like Harriet Tubman, a Black abolitionist who helped African Americans and enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad. Tubman's actions sparked a domino effect as the freed individuals helped others escape slavery. A similar story dates as far back as 3000 BC, where African Americans communicated escape routes by braiding maps into their hair, what we now recognize as cornrows. This practice not only helped thousands of slaves escape, but it influenced modern society. Today, millions of people wear cornrows without realizing its historical significance, passing on the generational braids. A simple act like braiding hair could change history. Likewise, helping a homeless person with a meal might change their life. The impact you have on someone could change their life. I am thankful for the rights my ancestors and past leaders have fought for, enabling me to be here today. Like them, I seek to leave a legacy. I founded a Black student union at my school to provide a space where students can feel like they belong, as I once yearned for that feeling of belonging myself. People are grateful for even the smallest acts. Every smile, every gesture can create a ripple effect. As Jackie Robinson said, a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. The impact you have on someone's life just might form who they are, and they may be forever grateful. You just might hear them say, thanks, thanks, thanks.
Next up, we have Sarah Davis.
Hello everyone. My name is Sarah Davis and I'm a junior at Perry Hall High School. What is a soul? For some, it is a spiritual element of humanity given to us by God. For others, it is a metaphorical representation of ourselves. In every interpretation of the word, a soul is considered immortal, continuing on in the wake of the physical body's death. One part of humanity that is immortal, and therefore a part of the soul, is a person's impact. If we were to travel back in time, we would notice that every seemingly trivial action, good or bad, has shaped the world we live in today. Similarly, the world has been shaped by our inactions. Will we choose to immortalize the parts of ourselves that beat down and oppress others? The parts of ourselves that do nothing to alleviate the pain of others? Or will we immortalize the parts of ourselves that lift others up and fight for freedom and joy? Frances Harper made this choice. She became an abolitionist and co-founded the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs. She published poetry emphasizing the struggle of Black women, writing about both racism and sexism. She became a leading poet recognized at the Seneca Falls Convention. Conversely, if we decide to trample on others and use the weak, Frances Harper believed that our soul would receive a curse of being remembered as the corrupted person we are, a curse of being immortalized throughout history as pernicious, a curse of our harmful actions reverberating throughout humanity, a curse of potentially causing humanity to lose the one chance it has at creating a society of good and happy people. This is the choice that Frances Harper emphasized when she said, "We are all bound up in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse on its own soul." Just like Frances Harper, I'm choosing to fight for freedom. I'm an American girl, 17 years of age. I'm also white and have had the privilege of growing up in a middle-class suburban family. But my decision wouldn't change if I was an African-American woman or a white man. My identity and my background will never change my decision to strengthen and empower the vulnerable, and it shouldn't change yours. Because you, all of you in here, anyone watching, have seen the suffering, be it through your own observation or through experience. Because whether you are rich or poor, old or young, white or black, straight or queer, the actions that you take now will change the future. Because you can immortalize the parts of yourself that you can be proud of. Thank you to all of you who have chosen to follow in Frances Harper's footsteps. And let this be a warning to those of you who haven't.
Let us please welcome Joshua Faora.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joshua Faora, and I'm from Arlington Baptist, and today I'll be talking about the true extent of life. So for starters, what makes a life significant? Is it the ability to overcome major obstacles, or is it the influence that we leave on others? Jackie Robinson once said, a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. This statement reminds us that our lives gain true meaning, and each and every one of us in this room can use our lives to impact many generations to come. Now, I'll have three main points I'll be discussing today. The first one being inheritance. Now, when I mean inheritance, I'm not talking about wealth and money. No, we're not talking about that. When I talk about inheritance, I'm talking about the knowledge, values, and legacy that we can leave on other generations. A shining example of this is Dr. Charles R. Drew. He was an African American who aided doctors and aided many people who were in the war in World War II. He revolutionized medicine by developing new ways to store blood plasma. His groundbreaking work not only saved thousands of lives, but it also inspired many fellow African Americans to work in the medical field. Now, the second topic I'll be talking about is philanthropy. Now, philanthropy, that is the act of giving and sharing what we have to improve the lives of others. Now, many people may just give things to people just because they have to. But no, the heart behind the actions is what really matters most. Philanthropists understand that wealth is not just for personal gain, but it can be used to create opportunities for the future. Their generosity can provide many resources that can help aid communities, offer help to the poor, and show that we all have a responsibility to take care of one another. Even the smallest act of kindness can be the spark that changes someone's life forever. Now, the last topic that I'll be talking about today is guidance. Now, guidance is the gift of leadership and mentorship. It is about reaching back to lift others up. Now, I'll use my father as an example. Now, my father, growing up, he's always helped me, always guided me, taught me the right things to do, and because of that, I'm now standing here, be able to present today. This aspect is pivotal in many lives today, because, as we all may know, social media has been reaching a really big outbreak. Many people have been using it, and it's been corrupting their minds. Now, if we use guidance, we'll be able to use that, have guidance from many other people. We can use that to be able to lead others and lead that for the many future generations that are before us. Now, when we combine three of these aspects that I've mentioned today, we can create a legacy that stretches far beyond our own lifelines. Dr. Drew's medical breakthroughs, the generosity of philanthropists, and the wisdom passed down through guidance all serve as proof that shows that the actions we take today can shape tomorrow. Each and every one of us have a power to leave a meaningful impact. What will your legacy be? Will you pass down knowledge to inspire future generations? Or will you give generosity to those in need? Will you guide others towards a better future? If we embody each of these values, if we inherit, give, and guide, we will not only honor the legacies of those who came before us, but we will also build a brighter future to those who will come after us. Thank you.
Please welcome Tamaya Fripong.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tamaya Frimpong. I'm a junior from Eastern Technical High School, and here's my speech. What happens when a society disregards its most vulnerable members and reduces humanity to mere physicalities? Will it prosper or will it fall? Let's see. In Lord of the Flies by William Golding, a group of boys are stranded on an island. Piggy the outcast is short, fat, timid, asthmatic, burdened with bad eyesight. The boys on the island alienated him because his features were alien among them. They allowed his physical qualities to trump the value of his mind. Not only did they humiliate Piggy, they murdered him. In the end, the island is left mourning, the end of innocence, the darkness of man's heart, and the fall through the air of the true wise friend called Piggy. Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, one of the first African Americans to be published in the United States, asserted that we are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse on its own soul. Harper's quote emphasizes our interconnectedness, warning that mistreating the weakest harms society itself, a truth evident in literature, history, and even my own faith. Targeting others based on surface-level differences is shallow, inhumane, insensitive, and perpetuates harmful stereotypes that strip people of their dignity. For example, the eugenics movement was a literal demonstration of this. Eugenics sought to eradicate those deemed feeble-minded from society, all in the name of preserving society's genetic strength. During the 20th century, over 20,000 people were forcibly sterilized in the state of California, with typical targets being immigrants and poor individuals in mental health institutions. One victim, Mary Franco, was sexually abused at the age of 13. Instead of receiving treatment for her trauma, a mental asylum used her experience to justify her sterilization under the guise of eugenics. Because of this, Mary could never have children and grew up with unchecked trauma, believing that the abuse was her own fault. Across 32 states, over 60,000 people face the same fate. But how can America claim equality for all with such an ugly history? This ideology of disposability has no place in a just society. It must be understood that the human race is not a garden. People are not weeds to be discarded. Every individual contributes to the richness and diversity of our collective existence. Another example, the pseudoscience of phrenology. Phrenology is completely sexist and racist and an excuse to dehumanize marginalized groups. Phrenologists claim that Black people have smaller skulls and therefore less mental capabilities. This theory ignored our shared humanity that all humans have the same type of brain. The melanin in our skin is not the problem. It is those who perceive it as a flaw. We are all human, and by denying our interconnectedness, the ethical foundation of society crumbles. So therefore, we must be intentional in how we view and treat one another. As a Christian, the idea that we are all part of a larger whole reminds me of the concept of the body of Christ. Christianity teaches that each person is part of a bigger body, and every individual's well-being is tied to the well-being of others. If one part suffers, we all suffer. Embracing compassion and unity and recognizing our shared humanity is not optional. It is essential for cultivating a morally thriving community. Thank you.
Joining us now, Ariel Granter.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ariel Granter, and I am a senior at Arlington Baptist School. When I was younger, my mother and I would go to Chick-fil-A after school every Friday. One random Friday night, after leaving Chick-fil-A, I had asked her something. As we got in the car to go home, I remember asking, "Mommy, how come you love Chick-fil-A so much?" My young childlike 6-year-old mind didn't think much of a complicated answer, thinking she would either say ice cream or chicken nuggets. However, her answer wasn't like that at all. She then replied, saying in the car that it was the service that Chick-fil-A provided. For me, at the time, it wasn't a big deal, and honestly, it made no sense. The only service in my mind that they did was give us our food, and what was so special about that? However, growing up through the years, I eventually found the true purpose of what it meant to serve. As Dr. Lily Mae Carroll Jackson said, "Service to your people is the rent you pay for living this earth." The concept of service wasn't foreign to me. As a matter of fact, I served and helped in numerous activities growing up, ranging from helping my mother, participating in volunteering events, school activities, and many more. However, even with all of these services, I had never felt the feeling. Not that I loathed helping people, but I never felt such happiness and gratitude unless I had got something out of it. Did it matter that I was more concerned with being successful, or that I was more concerned with gaining than giving? Around 14, my mother and I had been distributing goods to people that were in need at a food drive. After we were done, the leader of the group from our church preached about how we can honor God by helping others and how we shouldn't do things for personal gain, but to help others. After deep thinking, I had felt convicted. I decided to talk to my mom. I asked what makes her serve, not just in work, but in life. She then responded saying life would be nothing without the service of others. I was stunned because it didn't just remind me of what I had just done, but my life in general. I had to reflect on the service of my teachers. Because of that, I received good education. I reflect on my parents. Because of their service, I have new opportunities. Because of my service, I have met great friends and great people in my life. Lastly, the gift of service is how I can make a positive impact on someone's life. I then realized that was the true act of service, to contribute things to our world for the greater good. Anything is an honor, no matter how big, or no matter how small. Rethinking back to my childhood days when I went to Chick-fil-A with my mother, I now understood what she meant. That it wasn't just the service of people bringing us our food, but the efforts through their kindness and their gratitude to make a happy environment to enjoy, which makes service the most priceless debt we could ever owe. Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming Shalisa Ibad.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shalisa Ibad, and I am a junior at Centennial High School. When I was in elementary school, my teacher gave me the most peculiar book. It was titled In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson. The cover featured a young Asian girl listening to the radio with a legendary baseball player in the background. Even today, I remember the title and cover so vividly. The story told of Shirley Temple Wong, a young Chinese immigrant who was inspired by the perseverance and differences of Jackie Robinson. And it is this book that made me realize how much I wanted to change the world. Now, I once believed, and I think many people believe, that in order to change the world, you have to achieve fame or success or make a scientific breakthrough. However, reflecting on the message of this book, I've realized something. I've realized that the smallest everyday actions actually have the greatest impact. So, in my very wise age of 17, I propose to you 3 things that anyone can do, 3 simple things to change the world. Words, culture, and smiles. So first, words. Words have the power to change minds and hearts. Writers like Maya Angelou and Amanda Gorman show us that our voices can inspire social change and provide representation. For example, in her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Maya Angelou describes her painful experiences as a Black woman living in the segregated South, inviting others into her world. Through her words, she was able to shed light on injustice and create a space for Black people to find strength in and relate to. When we see our own experiences reflected in media, it validates our identity and helps us feel understood. Similarly, the radio announcers who shared Jackie Robinson's story inspired Shirley Temple to find strength in her differences as a Chinese girl living in America. Jackie Robinson was the only Black player in the MLB at the time. Shirley Temple was the only Chinese student in her class, and I was the only Pakistani girl in my hockey team and in my Girl Scout troop and in many other areas. And for the first time in my life, a piece of literature resonated with me. Words not only have the power to inspire others, but to remind us of why our stories matter. But let's say writing isn't your strongest suit. Culture is another simple yet powerful way to make an impact. By preserving family traditions and language, we help keep impacts, values, and histories alive. Culture shapes the way how we see the world and connects us to our past. For example, in the late 1800s, the early 1800s, when slavery prevailed, Black African Americans rejected dehumanization, and they decided that they wanted to preserve their identity no matter what. They did this through songs, through dances, through their language from African roots, but one of the most creative ways they did it was through fashion, especially cornrows. Now you might be thinking, cornrows, a hairstyle, how does that have an impact on anything? But you see, during slavery, slaves couldn't speak explicitly. They had to talk in codes. They had to give secret messages. And they would give these secret messages through their hair by drawing out braids and drawing out paths, drawing out a path to free them to escape the North. Now today, it is a fashion statement. And this is why cornrows are so important. It preserved the history of slavery and perseverance, whether it be, enslaved people or the civil rights movement to Black Lives Matter today. Each cornrow represents a path to freedom. Each cornrow represents a perseverance, and each cornrow represents an injustice that has never been fulfilled. In a globalized world, a loss of culture can lead to an erasure of what makes us unique. It is essential that we preserve our language and our culture, because if a language dies, an entire way of thinking can disappear. Preserving cultures and keeping them alive through very simple things such as a hairstyle, that way we create our impact on the world. And last but not least, the most simplest way to make an impact, and personally my favorite way to change the world, is through a smile. Now, a smile is, when we smile at someone, we acknowledge them. It may seem insignificant, but a smile can break down barriers and create meaningful and lasting connections. A smile can offer encouragement, brighten someone's day, and remind them that they matter. It's a reminder that we are all in this together. When Mabel, a young Black girl, smiles at Shirley Temple feels seen. She feels understood. She feels heard. She feels as if she can be a part of American society. All what? Because somebody smiled at her. In a world that often feels divided, a smile can reunite us and bring positive change. We are all human, and I know we can all smile. So, in the end, changing the world doesn't require breakthroughs, scientific, fame. It doesn't require that. Whether through the words we write, the cultures we preserve, or the smiles that we share, we can all leave a positive mark. But the most positive of marks is when we dedicate them to someone else. As Jackie Robinson said, and as you all have probably heard a bunch of times today, a life is not important except in the impact that it has on other lives. Shirley Temple wasn't inspired by the fact that Jackie Robinson was the first MLB baseball player. No, I bet she didn't even know. But she was inspired just by his presence, the fact that he was there, the fact that he was different. That's what gave her strength. So when we focus on making a difference in other people's lives, we help create a better world and a better future. And I wish to do just that. Thank you.
Coming to the stage next is Amlin Johnson.
Hi, I hope everybody is doing well today. My name is Amlin Johnson, and I'm from Hartford Technical High School. And today I'll be presenting Beyond Individualism, the Power of Selflessness. The profound statement, a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives, that was made by the prominent baseball player, Jackie Robinson, who was the first African American to play in Major League Baseball, along with paving the way for racial integration, challenges the standard belief, implying that true fulfillment stems from something deeper and more meaningful, such as living with integrity and dedicating your life to helping others than simply achieving personal goals or accumulating wealth. This quote encourages us to focus on how our actions can benefit society, not just ourselves. It leads us to consider the many ways we can contribute to society. One powerful example of this idea is found in the life of Nelson Mandela, representing a symbol of courage and resilience, who dedicated his life to fighting for racial equality in South Africa. Despite facing decades of imprisonment on June 12, 1964, along with 7 others for his anti-apartheid activities in South Africa, where it was completely an apartheid system, he emerged as a leader who advocated for forgiveness and reconciliation. His unwavering commitment towards justice and equality serves as a great example of how individuals can have a significant influence on the world through their selfless struggle for social change. Furthermore, a figure that also supports his principle is Malala Yousafzai, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate who epitomizes the power of courage and conviction in the face of adversity. Despite facing immense danger with her being shot in the head by a Taliban gunman in 2012 along with 2 other girls, she continued her advocacy for the rights of girls to education in Pakistan. This commendable story serves as an inspiring example of how individuals can also make an impact by standing up for their beliefs and fighting for a just and equitable society. Hence, this quote reminds us that our choices do matter. For instance, by making a decision between choosing to focus on our own success or how we can help others. By embracing a philosophy of having a positive impact on other lives being our fulfillment, we can move beyond self-centered pursuits and live a life of purpose and meaning. The specific paths to this fulfillment are diverse and distinctive to each individual. Whether through acts of service, creative expression, advocacy for social justice, the pursuit of a life that benefits others gives an intense sense of satisfaction and contributes to a more harmonious and fulfilling human experience. Thank you.
Next up, Veronica King.
Hi everyone, how are we doing today? That's good. My name is Veronica King, and I'm a junior at the Mercy High School of Baltimore. We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse on its own soul. This quote by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper is painfully true. We were meant to live in community with one another, where we embrace everyone's differences and utilize their unique strengths for the betterment of said community. It's disheartening that throughout history, the value of each person's unique traits has been ignored. and rather cause separation between people based on trivial reasons, such as race, ethnicity, or phenotype. It's trivial because while we are all different, that is exactly what makes a well-functioning society. Having multifaceted people that are all inherently unique from one another. It is in the hyperfixation of these differences that we lose the potential to create a stronger society. It is the fear of the unknown and misunderstanding that causes people to act out in violence and oppression. Let's look at the early eras of racial divisions, for example. These divisions were not just drawn between African Americans and white people, no. They were drawn between different groups of white people as well. The English hated the Irish, the Dutch hated the English, etc. The wealthiest amongst these groups quickly realized that the number of enslaved African Americans and poor white people immensely outnumbered the amount of rich white people. To combat a potential uprising, these rich white men created militias and other outlets for power so that poor white men would feel a sense of superiority against their African American counterparts. This was all so that they would not come together and start an uprising against them. This facade of power became so intense, in fact, that the same conditions were replicated between some free and enslaved African Americans. This guise of superiority causes the indifference Watkins Harper speaks of in her excerpt. Even with the installation of movements like women's suffrage, many white people, especially women, were indifferent to the harsh physical, spiritual, and societal conditions Black Americans faced. This was in exchange for the potential bettering of conditions for them. People who claimed to be abolitionists stayed silent when people like Watkins Harper stated that no matter what rights you give to white women, until the US becomes so colorblind that I can walk down the street and get on the same bus as white people, America will never be free. The indifference of the oppressor to change the conditions of the oppressed is what keeps society from reaching its fullest potential. This is the curse Watkins Harper speaks of. This curse is not a spiritual manifestation, no, but the physical representation of the current state of our world. The violence, detestation, and bloodshed that takes place throughout our world is the physical manifestation of the effects of failing to take care of the weakest and feeblest members of our society. This is why the world is in such shambles. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stated from his letter from Birmingham jail, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So until we as a community learn to embrace our differences and utilize the unique strengths of each individual, we will never reach our fullest potential. We must reverse the curse placed upon us due to the inaction of our forefathers and stand up against redundant, prejudiced rhetoric. It is only when we learn to do this that the curse will be lifted. Thank you so much, and good luck to my fellow readers.
Next up is Jakar Knight Jr.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jakar Knight Jr., and I am a freshman at Oakland Mills High School. Making an impact in my generation. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Jackie Robinson. Making an impact on others' lives has been the driving force in my life. I have been fortunate to be surrounded by family, friends, and mentors who not only encouraged me to speak about making an impact, but also taught me the importance of taking action. Throughout my journey, I have learned that making a positive difference doesn't happen by simply talking about it. It requires hard work, compassion, and a commitment to action. My efforts to create positive change in my community and generation has been displayed through spiritual messages, organizing drives, engaging in community service, advocating for mental health services, and stepping into leadership roles like becoming freshman class president at Oakland Mills High School. But these experiences are just the beginning of my mission to make a lasting impact on those around me. As freshman class president, I have the privilege of working with a dedicated group of peers who are equally committed to bringing positive change to our school and community. Together, we have worked on several projects that aim to make a meaningful difference. I plan to continue fostering communication, empathy, and inclusion, and share experiences as I move forward in my leadership role. One person who has had a profound influence on my life is my late uncle, Henry Stewart. From a young age, he demonstrated what it means to be a leader and how to make an impact in society. He dedicated his life in teaching and working within his community, constantly showing me that true leadership is about lifting others up. His legacy continues to inspire me in my own work, reminding me that the true value of our lives is measured by the difference we make in the world. Beyond my involvement at school, I had the opportunity to further my mission of impacting my community. I am the youth advisor for the Epic Art Universe and Equity Project Foundation. I help to organize events that brings young people together, mentors and community leaders, such as the Youth Equity Summit, which focuses on equality and equity. Public speaking is another avenue through which we strive to make a difference. I believe that through public speaking, I can connect with others, inspire action, and promote empathy. Public speaking gives me the platform to be a voice for my generation and to inspire others who believe in their potential to create change. As I close, this quote from Jackie Robinson about impacting lives has shown me that impact is not just a word, it's an action. I will continue to impact my community and generation by using my voice through leadership, public speaking, and through my gifts and talents. The work I've done so far is only the beginning, and I am excited to see where my efforts will take me as I continue to inspire and lead others in my generation. Thank you.
Next up, Telma O.
Good afternoon. My name is Telma O. I am a sophomore at Arundel High School, and I'm here with you today to discuss the quote, "Service to your people is the rent you pay for living on this earth," which is something that took me too long to figure out. You see, growing up as a Nigerian immigrant, I wasn't proud of who I was. I hated the texture of my hair and wanted it to be silky and straight like my white classmates. I remember being envious about how they were able to tuck their hair behind their ears and flip their hair back whenever they were being sassy. I remember hating the fact that I pronounced certain words wrongly when that was just the way we spoke in my household. I especially hated the interactions I'd have with my classmates whenever eating ethnic food in school because it stunk. I spent so many of my elementary school years trying to be as white as possible. I asked my mother whether I could relax my hair.
I spent hours watching cable TV shows so I could learn how Americans pronounce things. And I would even buy the school lunch instead of packing food from home. In spite of all my efforts, eventually, I realized that I could never be white, no matter how hard I tried, so I stopped trying. By that time, it wasn't so hard being the African kid. Black Panther came out, Afrobeats got popular, and everyone knew what jollof rice was. Once Africa became cool, I started telling my classmates all the things my father told me about our homeland growing up. I taught them that Africa wasn't this desert full of huts, but instead a diverse continent, filled with various countries, cities, and beaches, gifted with boundless resources, which triggered colonization. That's my service, educating others and speaking up. Like when someone made fun of the way a Nigerian politician was pronouncing things on the news, and I reminded him that he wouldn't ridicule a British man's accent, so he shouldn't his. Or another time when a classmate was making jokes about the N-word, and I told him that jokes like that are never just jokes, but mild forms of racism. To me, standing up is a tribute I pay to those who came before me. Like Malcolm X, for instance, who was one of the first Pan-Africanists in this country. My standing up to these types of people is sort of like a nod to him, letting him know that I won't let disrespect towards us go unnoticed. Or like a nod to the last king, Abini, who was banished from his kingdom during the British invasion of West Africa, letting him know that while the kingdom may be no more, the confidence in the minds of the people was passed down. Or a nod to Mansa Musa, implying that while his riches may no longer be with us anymore, the dignity in his reign still echoes in our lives to this day. By doing these things, I pay my rent to those who came before me, ensuring that their stories are not forgotten. And as I continue to let others know about them, I urge everyone watching me today to do the same, so that together we can carry their legacy forward. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and best of luck to my competitors.
Let us welcome Genesis Okiti.
That was a little bit of a walk. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Genesis Okiti, and I am a junior at Westminster High School. Today, I would like to share with you my essay titled, "And Presently Me." Standing within the threshold of my home, I observe its walls, branded with faded scribbles attributed to the premature actions of me and my siblings. On the back deck, the stair is loose, and the white fence surrounding the yard is slightly dingy and battered. At the side of the house, a shingle peels off with every gust of the wind. I can imagine the sympathy one must feel as they look upon the abode. How could such a structure be susceptible to such misfortune, they might say. Still, I know that there are those who gaze upon the establishment in complete and total astonishment. I know that those who came before me view it as a step on a forever ascending staircase towards prosperity. I know that it is a testament to the hard work of my people. I believe that there is great value found within reclaiming one's home origins, to devote time appreciating and nourishing the attributes that it has to offer. Because my father is a born native of Nigeria, this is an ordeal that I am no stranger to. Since the day that my father set foot in America, the deep regard that he had for his country, as well as his community, stood firm within his soul. It was such an attachment that he sought any opportunity to invest and pursue every venture related to it. Whether it was leading a nonprofit, financing different projects within his native land, or sending money back home to his mother and his siblings, he welcomed every circumstance. When I was younger, I can recall my father's constant requisition about returning back to Nigeria, taking the time to reconnect with our Igbo identity, develop relationships with extended family members. I questioned his demands, not understanding my father's want and need for his children to create that same regard and attachment that he had for his country. But as I've grown older, I've come to understand this desire. In a world that's constantly changing, many of us become preoccupied with the habitual stresses and tasks of everyday life. As some struggle to put food on the table, or even to keep a roof above their head, we become unaware of the issues that plague our respective communities. We lose our sense of institution, that of which those preceding us fought endlessly and tirelessly to provide. Sometimes we fail to recognize the importance of giving back to our community. In such moments, one should recall the wise words of Lily Carroll Jackson. Service to your people is the rent you pay for living on this earth. As a woman who was no stranger to hard work, the mother of freedom, Lily Carroll Jackson dedicated her life to the improvement of the Black community. As an entrepreneurial Black woman in the 1910s, Lily Carroll Jackson encountered constant adversities throughout her lifetime. But despite this, her service and care for her community, it never faltered. Within her role as a pioneer civil rights activist, Lily Carroll Jackson spearheaded the nonviolence tactic used by Martin Luther King during the civil rights movement. As the organizer of the NAACP chapter of Baltimore, Lily Carroll Jackson enhanced the education, employment, and housing for the Black community within the area. She even traveled to communities in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania, lecturing audiences about positive messages and films that shed a great light on the Black community, which was extremely necessary during the time. When pondering Ms. Jackson's quote, I imagine the cost that she is suggesting is more so a debt that can only be reimbursed through the hard work one contributes to their society. What comes to my mind are the likenesses of my own trailblazers within my community. Martin Luther King, who fought for racial equality and the rights of his people. Marsha P. Johnson, who led the Stonewall Uprising and advocated for the rights of the LGBTQ+ community. Or even Hosea Williams, who protested racism within segregated counties of the Deep South. But along with this, I would like for all of you to picture my family. Consider my paternal grandfather's efforts to relieve his family of the destitution brought forth by the Biafran War. Consider my maternal grandmother's ability to raise 3 wonderful children within the heart of West Baltimore on her own. Consider my father's constant efforts to better his community, or even how my mother selflessly sacrificed herself in numerous ways in order to push me and my siblings to push through the barriers that were set before us within this world. Without the service that they provided to their community, or rather their family, I would not be in the position that I am in today. I would not have matured into a human vessel with the desire and willingness to aid her people in every way possible. Now, as I search for my purpose within this world, I repay my community by pursuing the chances granted to me by the work of my predecessors. Lily Carroll Jackson's quote exemplifies an attitude, but not just one that should be replicated within our communities. It is one that should also be replicated within our families. In order to be a living organism on this floating mass of land, one must remember that they must evolve, they must grow, and they must change. Although the progression of our Earth can be attributed to natural evolution, advancement as a society, that comes from the aid of the people within our communities. People like Lily Carroll Jackson and presently me. Thank you so much.
Joining us next is Dorothy Quante.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dorothy Quante, a senior at Charles Herbert Flowers High School in Prince George's County, Maryland. Before I start my speech, I would like to thank everyone for coming here today, as well as
the judges, the sponsors, WJZ, and for our families and friends for making this possible for us. Today, I will be discussing the impact of community service and its importance in our society. Every day before work, my mom would gather my brother and I to watch the 6 o'clock news. We'd rush to the side of the living room furthest from the TV, fighting over the corner seat of the sofa. That way, we could use the armrest as a pillow, shielding against the monotone anchor and our mom's post-interjection scolds. Our sofa's arm has a 14-year-old bald spot now, with only specks of its original color remaining, a testament of the times I would lift up my head to burrow in the reporting of Pat Collins. He was invigorating and gave me a thrill similar to the one I felt while facing my friends in a game of concentration. 64. It took me a while to realize, though, that this spark did not come from him, but the community he represented and the stories he chose to tell. Last August, I got the chance to cover a story, almost 2,000 miles away from home. Austin was hot, and the unwillingness of some Austinites to share their experiences with gentrification to 2 student reporters made it even hotter. I finally came across a woman named Karen Sager. She spells her names with 2 R's. She's a street artist who has been selling her artwork on the South Congress Strip for over a decade. She's a Houston native, and most importantly, she's the epitome, the backbone, the representation of all the cities across America, big or small. She talked to me and my friend Mo about how she perceived the changes to Austin's weirdest neighborhood. We watched as she laid out vibrant canvases telling us about the city's efforts to remove street artists and clean up the block, how small businesses and mom and pop stores can't afford rising rent prices anymore because larger corporations like Nike and Hermes are buying up their spots on the block. But check this out. She told us that that day might be the last she ever spent selling her art in an area that she called home for 10 plus years. Because in places like America, in cities like DC, Austin, Detroit, Baltimore, we remove the soul from the city. We separate the soul from the city. We push out the creatives, the people who make the city what it is, all in an effort to look like everybody else. Karen trusted us, Mo and I, 2 anxious, inexperienced student reporters at the mercy of the Texas heat. Her voice made the sun a little cooler and more purposeful to stand in. She energized me with her struggles and empowered me to do her story justice. I'm forever grateful that she talked to us that day. Dr. Jackson's belief that service to your people is the rent you pay for living on this earth goes beyond simply aspiring to leave society better than we found it. It's about using our talents to change those thought processes and systems that have hindered our progression, so that current and future generations don't have to live avoiding taxes or the duties that come with being a citizen of the world. It's about acknowledging our people, the marginalized, unrepresented, silenced minorities, those whose needs go beyond any physical or monetary solution, those who need soul. My service is storytelling. I aim to not only be a journalist, but a community member who does her part in sharing the world around her, while contributing to a balanced media, like Pat Collins did, saving me from dozing off on the sofa, like we did that day with Karen Sager, Mo, and I, shining a light on people the world moves too fast to see. Thank you.
Next up, let us have Rachel Ward.
Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Ward, and I'm a sophomore at Perry Hall High School. A life is not important, except in the impact it has on other lives. The quote by Jackie Robinson shows a theme of service, courage, and responsibility. Jackie Robinson was the first African American to break Major League Baseball's color barrier. He not only revolutionized the sport, but also challenged a deeply segregated society. His life exemplifies the profound impact one individual can have, inspiring change and paving the way for others. I believe that his quote means that the true measure of a person's worth lies in their ability to uplift and inspire others. It is nice to have personal achievements and success, but it is worth more to help the greater good. Jackie Robinson's fight in baseball was not just about him being able to play and succeed, but it was about helping other Black people and future generations to be able to play as well, without the racial barriers. It was a fight for equality and justice. He broke through the barriers in a predominantly white sport and gave a sense of hope to other people who would also face discrimination. His bravery on and off the field showed that one person's resilience could challenge social norms. Jackie Robinson's impact extended far beyond baseball. He endured a lot of racism, verbal abuse, and even threats to his safety. Yet, he chose to rise above the hate, refusing to retaliate in order to prove a point. Change requires grace under pressure. It shows that you are emotionally conscious when you can keep calm, even when people are trying to get a reaction out of you. His ability to remain composed under what he was going through was inspiring. He was an inspirational person. He showed that social change was possible through persistence and integrity. Positivity may seem like a small word, but it is so powerful. Whether you do small acts or big acts, the contribution you make to someone's life will affect them forever. People may not always remember what you did or even what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Firefighters, teachers, therapists, and doctors are just some of our community helpers who work selflessly and may not always see their efforts being effective, but their dedication impacts lives. Jackie Robinson's life teaches us that making a difference often requires sacrifice. He faced isolation, criticism, and physical danger, but he never backed down. He saw the bigger picture. I will not back down, just like Jackie Robinson and so many others. He inspires me to use my accomplishments to elevate others and foster opportunities for those who come after me. His life legacy is a testament to the fact that one life, when dedicated to serving and inspiring others, can create profound and lasting change. Just like Jackie Robinson, I plan to leave this earth better than I found it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the speeches for the 2025 WJZ Black History Oratory Competition. And I have got to tell you, what we saw these students do takes a lot of courage and thoughtfulness, so a round of applause for them for that. And I've got to say, good luck to the judges. I am glad I do not have to select the winners because they were terrific. Now, to find out who will win, all you have to do is watch the WJZ Black History Oratory Competition Award Special. All right, so here's the time. Saturday, February 22nd at 7 p.m. on WJZ. All right, it's going to be an incredible program. We're going to learn more about the quotation authors, as we did today, and more about the tradition of oratory in African American history. And you'll get to see the first, second, and third place speeches broadcast over the air, so you're not going to want to miss this. For WJZ, I'm Nikki Zizaza, and I will see you there.
Thank you for watching the WJZ Black History Oratory Competition. To find out who wins, watch the award special, Saturday, February 22nd at 7 p.m. on WJZ. Brought to you by the Enoch Pratt Free Library, Rice Law, and Morgan State University.